Fantastic news. I passed my final exam here in Sweden as a nurse trained abroad. So, just as a little background, I've been living in Sweden. I am a nurse from the United States, and I moved here 2 years ago and started this new journey of coming into life here in Sweden and becoming a nurse in this country. So, I took my examination last week, and if you've seen my videos before, you know that it has been very difficult trying to prepare for this. I did not study to be a nurse in Sweden, and plus there's a language aspect of it as well. So not only do you have to learn the Swedish way of doing things, you've also got the Swedish vocabulary that you've got to learn at the same time. In addition to that, I've been working too and just trying to adapt to life here in Sweden. And I got the results back on my final examination and I passed. So that I'd have to say, along with getting a Swedish tax identification number or person number, have probably been the two most difficult things for me living here in Sweden in the last 2 years. So a little bit of background about the examination. I actually took it's called a Kunskapsprov, and there's two parts to it. One is a written part. You sit down and it's a mix of multiple choice. I did mine on a computer, had to go to Gothenburg or Göteborg and take the examination there. It was my second attempt to do it, and I did pass on the second try. That was in April. And then they said that I scored really well, at really high points, and so that I was welcome to sit in on the next exam, which is more of a practical exam. So it's like hands-on, where you actually have to demonstrate your skills at doing things like putting in a catheter, starting an IV, putting in a feeding tube, giving medications, and blood transfusions. There's a whole slew there's about 14 different things that you have to know well. And it's not like you just go in there and do it. There are a lot of little details that they're looking at, such as, did you wash your hands properly and in the right sequence, and when did you put your gloves on? And they have, basically, when you're doing the exam, you've got two people watching you. So you've got like a dummy, a plastic, it might just be an arm, like a plastic arm. You have to pretend there's a patient there, and it may be a full-on plastic dummy there in the bed. And so one of them is pretending to be the patient and making the voice and saying, "Oh, why are you giving me that medication for? Is it gonna hurt? Do you know what you're doing?" That sort of thing. And then the other person is sitting there with a tablet, and they've got a list of, it's called a bedömningsunderlag. So it's like a long list of all these things that they're looking at to make sure you don't miss anything. There are certain things that are red that you absolutely cannot miss. If you miss just one of those, you fail that whole portion of it. There were 14 possible it's like a random list of things that you could be tested on, and they picked 6 of them. Now, I took the examination, like I said, I was approved to take it back in April, and so I took it the following month. I only had like 1 week to prepare, and I was just given some videos, so I didn't really know what to expect. I'd never been in there for this sort of thing. I never had this kind of an examination in America. Basically, when you had an exam in America, it was your NCLEX, so it's like your final exam that you take at the end of everything, and it's expected that you know what you're doing by that point. And then, you just take your NCLEX and hopefully pass that. So things like putting in a catheter, starting an IV, mixing antibiotics, that sort of thing, all that stuff is included already in the school curriculum. And so you don't have like a final exam that you have to pass for that. And I don't know Swedish nurses that are trained here if they do the same thing as us nurses that are trained from abroad outside of the European Union. Love to know in the comments if you are a nurse and you were trained here in Sweden. Did you have to do 2 different tests, 2 different knowledge tests, one that was a written one and one that was a skills one, or did you just do the one? That'd be very interesting to know. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we do have varying levels of knowledge, and nurses are different, what they can do in different countries. And so, for example, in America, nurses have a lot of autonomy. There are a lot of skills that they're allowed to do that in other countries they may not be allowed to do or trained to do, or it may be very specialized types of stuff. So I think that might be a reason why that they are so careful to make sure that we know what we're doing, and they check us off on that. So I took the exam exactly 1 week after I had passed the written exam, and I was very unprepared for it. I failed. I was a nervous wreck, and I think that was the biggest problem because they give you like about 45 minutes to do two skills at a time. So you go in a room. I had no idea what I was going to be doing, and you walk in, so you're already a nervous wreck, and then you got two people staring at you. And it was the place I took it at was in Kalmar, and so it wasn't really set up like an actual hospital room. It was like this big open room, and it's hard. I've taken care of patients for 13 years before coming to Sweden. I've been doing patient care here in Sweden as well. So it's not like I don't know what I'm doing. It's just if you are a person like me who has a lot of test taking anxiety, and then you're thrown into a new environment, you don't know where things are at, and then you've got the language layer onto it too as well. It's a foreign language for me. And at the time, I'd only studied Swedish for a year and a half. And so it was very difficult. So I ended up failing. And I think looking back at it, part of it was I didn't have enough time to prepare. So I recommend to you guys, do not take the test like a week or a month after. Make sure you prepare very well, study really hard for the examination before you commit to taking it, because you only get 3 tries, and it creates a lot of unnecessary anxiety for people if they fail the first time and they think, oh my goodness, I've only got 2 tries left, and if I fail that, then I have to go through the whole process all over again. So I definitely recommend, don't rush it. If you've got to take 6 months to prepare, which is what I ended up doing, because I failed almost every single portion. And looking back at it, when I looked at the criteria, a lot of it was there are things they do different in America than here in Sweden, and I did not have enough time. In 1 week, that was not enough time. Personally, I don't know why they even recommended to me to take the exam just 1 week after taking the other exam. I think that was really stupid, but that's my personal opinion on that. I think it would, there's such a shortage of nurses here. You'd think that they would kind of facilitate us coming into the system the right way and learning everything the right way and coming in as quickly as possible. So that was a little bizarre to me. So I ended up taking the retake in Gothenburg instead of Kalmar. What I found out is Kalmar, you can only take the exam for the first try, and if you don't pass out the first try, you're not allowed to go back to Kalmar because they're not equipped to test you a second or third try. So basically the way it works is if you, for example, I actually was passed on only one thing. They were so strict. Like even they counted me off like how long my fingernails were, and from my standpoint, they weren't really that long. But if there's like any white at the tip of your fingernail, they will count you for that. In America, that was never a thing. It was more, don't have nails that are like acrylic nails, like fake nails and things of that nature. You need them to be short enough to be able to put gloves on and not tear them. You wouldn't want to have a big giant ring on your finger that will tear through the gloves. It's not super highly enforced. And like I said, we didn't really have like a skills exam either that we had to pass. So I was very unprepared. Another example, like putting in a catheter in a man. In America, I was used to a kit where everything was like all included. You just open the box and everything's there, and you had iodine, and you asked the patient, do you have an allergy to iodine? If you don't, then you would clean around the tip of the penis, and then it was sterile. Here, they don't use iodine. They have a thing called tvättkrem, which is like washing cream, and I'd never heard of that. And so like they asked me in the exam, what could you use instead of soap and water? And I was like, well, in America, we use this sort of thing. They also use an anesthesia when they put in a catheter, which I never use anesthesia. You just use regular gel in America. They're very specific on how many grams of anesthesia are you going to give it and how many minutes are you going to wait and why are you going to do that and explain the anatomy and physiology of this. So it was really, really tough. So I was very unprepared the first time. So it's been about 5 or 6 months since I took it the first time. And so I studied really, really hard. I even purchased a book that was recommended to me. I had gotten some videos from Gothenburg, so I watched those a whole lot. And thankfully, one of the instructors that was going to be checking us off, she actually is a nurse from India, and she went through the same process that we all had to go through, and she's got her PhD, and she said even she failed the first time. So that made me feel a lot better, and she had like a one-on-one with us before the exam. I feel like it was a whole lot better of a experience taking the exam in Gothenburg than it was in Kalmar. There was one nurse there that was extremely friendly in Kalmar, but she wasn't the one actually doing the test. She was just more like the coordinator, helping us to know what rooms to go and how to prepare and that sort of thing. Like, you know, here's some scrub tops, put that on, and it's going to be okay, trying to pep us up. But she wasn't the one actually in there. And the ones that were actually in there, I don't feel that they really cared about us. That was my perception. They were talking amongst each other while I'm sitting there trying to do what I'm supposed to be doing, which just added to my level of anxiety. But in Gothenburg, it was so much better. The rooms are set up like actual rooms that you're going to be, like you're a real nurse going in to take care of a patient. And you had a little area like a medicine room, and then you had the patient room. So it was a lot easier to kind of like imagine in your head, like this is a real situation. They also asked a lot of leading questions, and we got some tips that basically if they're asking questions, really stop and think about what they're asking you, because you're probably forgetting something because you're nervous. So make sure and listen really carefully and answer those questions so you don't miss anything. So afterwards, I wasn't really too sure if I passed, but I was thinking to myself, I'm sure I passed some of it, because basically way it works, if you miss 5 or 6 of the 6 of 14 that you can have, then you have to repeat 6 again the next try. And if you get 2, then you don't have to take all 6. I think I have to look at it again, but I think it's like 4 of the different routines that you would have to do, and then you have to pass a portion of that. And then if you pass 3 and 4, 3, then it's even less. And then basically if you pass 4 of 6, then you pass the whole thing. So this time I got it, and I was just hoping that I just passed 4 of 6. And the good news was, not only did I pass 4 of 6, I passed all 6 different things. So I think the 6 months of practicing and researching and asking around to other people that have taken the exam, I think that really helped me be more prepared for it. I am just extremely relieved. You have no idea. I felt like my whole life was hanging in the balance on this. So really the 2 things that were the hardest, I think, coming into Sweden, aside from learning a language, which is a gradual thing, would have been, getting my personal identification number, which I finally got like last April, and then passing this test. The knowledge test that I took before, that was like a written exam, it was tough, but it's kind of like you know how to prepare, and you just read the stuff, and you just had to memorize everything. But this was really difficult. It's a different kind of exam, very hands-on, and they're watching you and critiquing you, and it was pretty stressful. So what is next for me now? Am I a nurse? No, sadly, no. But I'm a lot closer to my goal. So I'm doing a 3-month tjänstgöring, which is basically like a internship, and I'd gotten approval from Socialstyrelsen. They are the government agency that regulates getting my license here and all other healthcare professional licenses. And they said, yeah, you can start it. So I'd already started that a couple weeks ago. I've got a little less than 2.5 months of that left. So I'll be done with that December 20th. Then the next thing I have to do, which I'm a little sad about, is not sad that I have to take it, but sad about the date that I got. I was not allowed to apply for. It's called Författningskunskap, I think. So it's basically like all the legal stuff that's associated with healthcare in Sweden. And it's usually, if you take it full time, it's a 5-week course, and you have to do it online. And I've heard of some people getting it done a little bit quicker, but it depends on the other end, because on the other end they have to grade all the work that you've done. So it depends kind of how fast you can do the work, and then how fast they can grade your papers. So I got approved for that, but the next date, I was hoping to have everything done before I go on vacation this winter, because I'm going to Texas for a couple of weeks to go see the family. But sadly, even though I'll be done with everything, including my residency or my internship and all these exams and stuff, and I've already got a job, I won't be able to take this legal thing until after I get back from vacation. So that delays me quite a bit. January 15th is a start date for that. And so if you add 5 weeks to that, I guess I'll be done somewhere the middle or the end of February. And then I can apply for my nursing license, which usually takes 2 weeks to do. And I have heard that it is snail mail. I'm not completely sure. I'll have to check on that. So we're looking at, sadly, it's not going to be January when I'll be done with everything. It'll probably be around March, I'm guessing. But it is what it is. I can't really do anything about that. And so that's kind of where I'm at in this process. I will be able to keep my current job that I have. I absolutely love my job. I'm really happy to be here and really excited to continue learning in this new department that I'm working in. So that's kind of what's going on with me. Now I feel like I can kind of relax and breathe a little bit. And I guess the next things for me is start working on myself, things that I've put off. It's crazy to think I've been here a tiny little bit over 2 years, and I speak Swedish. It's not perfect, but it's good enough to get by and be understood and understand others and to work. And I've got an apartment, I've got ID, I got a driver's license. So it took basically between 2.5 years to kind of get everything figured out and worked out for me, and I'm really super grateful. And I also have to say I had a whole lot of people that were kind of cheering me on, especially with this last exam, because a lot of people knew it was going to be really difficult for me, and I got a lot of positive energy from that. So I want to say thank you all for being so encouraging to me and supporting me through this very difficult time. So I'm really excited to see what the future holds for me, and yeah, I'll keep y'all updated. So yeah, some of my other goals I think that I want to start working on is taking care of my health. I've kind of like neglected that a bit while I've been here. So hopefully start going to the gym, get better shape, start eating healthier, start cooking all my food, all that kind of thing. So it's my plan to start working on some personal development issues. And hopefully I'll start posting some of that as well here on my channel. So thank you so much for you guys' support, and y'all have an awesome rest of your day.